3, 2, 1, go. Yes! Ah! Okay. Welcome back, everybody, to my Gemini Mind podcast. It's been a while. I have not uploaded in over a year. That's due to no particular reason. I think maybe 4 episodes. I could be wrong. On this podcast, I never do research. It's all just a stream of consciousness. I also can't speak on this podcast. Just a fair warning. It's all just a stream of I can't say it. I just speak from my mind. My Gemini mind. So don't take anything I say on this podcast as 100% truth, because I don't know. Sometimes I just say things. Anyways, that's besides the point. I don't plan to consistently upload. This is just something that I get creative little bursts from. And I think it's fun. Like this episode, I'll be talking about movies. Expect just random stuff from me. That is my whole life, I feel like. I have small little hyperfixations. Sometimes I can't even watch a full movie. It takes me a week to watch a movie. That's just how I am. Anyways, so thank you for returning, or if you're new, welcome. I also want to say the audio quality should be getting better. I ordered a microphone on Amazon. It was supposed to be delivered today, and they told me that it's running late. So I hopefully will get it soon, and maybe the next episode will have better audio. I apologize if this was very quiet. I am just recording on my phone. So anyways, this episode, I want to talk about movies because I love movies. I have a list in my notes app of every single movie I've watched, which reminds me I have to update that because I did see the new Elvis movie today, which I will be speaking at length about. Okay, let's add that. I've been adding every single movie, and then the ones I've seen in theaters I add in bold, just because I find this entertaining and sentimental. Alrighty, Elvis. Cannot spell. Alrighty. I feel like I should have counted before I started this recording. I will go through and name a few movies that I have seen this year. The first movie I watched was The Beguiled. It was a really interesting period piece about these women during the Civil War era at this little boarding school, and they take in a wounded Confederate soldier. That was pretty interesting. That was the first movie I watched this year. A couple more I watched. One that I absolutely loved was The Shining. I had never seen it before this year. I think if I had seen it previously, I would not have understood it as well. Definitely recommend if you have not seen it. I rewatched the Fear Street series. I watched a lot during my winter break this January. That's a good chunk. Promising Young Woman. I think about this movie on a daily. Mostly because of Bo Burnham, but I'm not going to get into that right now. That's just a couple movies I've seen. I have a lot. The first movie I want to talk about is Spree. I believe it is a Hulu original starring Joe Keery. And for those who are familiar with Stranger Things, he plays Steve. I had seen this movie previewed to me on TikTok. It was right after I finished volume 1 of season 4, and I just was desperate for something to just get me out of the funk of finishing that volume. I get so attached to these fictional shows, as many people do. The amount of TikToks I have on my For You page of people talking about Eddie Munson, I'm like, oh my god. Anyways, so I watched Spree, going into it with an open mind, because I am a very picky person when it comes to movies. If you know me in real life and I watch movies with you, you know that I am picky. I'm so picky. This movie blew me away. Joe Keery, first of all, very cute, very charming, as his character Steve. And I'm guessing in real life, that's just the assumption I'm making. But sweet Kurt, actually he's not very sweet, but Kurt's World, he is that's the main character of the movie. He is a very ambitious psychopath. But at the same time, you cannot help but love him. And I'll get into that more. So, the basic premise of this movie is Kurt desperately wants to be famous on social media. He has spent years making videos, trying to gain an audience, and not succeeding, unfortunately. There's a little Draw My Life in the beginning of the movie, which I thought was so funny because I used to watch so many of those on YouTube. And this poor man, he wants friends, he wants to be famous, he wants an audience, and it's just not working out for him. Very unfortunate. I don't know if I should spoil. I think I might. So if you don't want to be spoiled and you want to watch this for yourself, do it, and then come back and hear my critiques and hear my telling of the story. You're welcome to do that. Anyways, he does YouTube and social media as a career, but also a thing called spree driving, which is very similar to Uber and Lyft. It's called spree. He's a spree driver. Kurt's World is a very interesting fella. And his idea, because nothing has been working to get famous, he is going to murder people on live stream. So he equips his car with multiple GoPros so that he can get full video of all of the murders he has when he picks up his customers for his spree driving. He fills up water bottles with, I think, rubbing alcohol, and kind of persuades a couple of his passengers to drink it. They end up dying, and he ends up burying him somewhere. I have no idea. It's been a couple days since I've seen it, a couple weeks. So this isn't very good. My main point I want to get to is that through all of this crazy murdering that Kurt's World does, he somehow is so funny, and Joe Keery does such a good job of making this an entertaining movie, because it was kind of like, it gave me indie vibes for a movie, only because it was from a GoPro point of view for some of it, and it was just not like an actual movie. I wish I had the better vocabulary to describe that. I apologize. But I think Joe Keery makes that movie so good. Okay, I've decided that I'm not going to spoil much of this movie. I want to talk about Joe Keery's performance mostly. So, with this very awkward yet ambitious man named Kurt, Joe does such a good job of making the audience somehow, at least for me, root for this bad guy, for Kurt. Because I think he, at the root of it, he wanted to be known and loved, and it just did not work out for him. And recently I was watching a TikTok. This was after I watched it. I kind of moved on from it. I got over the sadness from Stranger Things and was doing my own thing. I saw that Kurt's World is active on Instagram. I freaked out because it was so hilarious that Joe Keery, not only for the movie, was recording social media type videos, but it was being posted semi-regularly on Instagram. I think that's hilarious, because most movies are not like that, obviously. I'm like, is Joe getting paid to make these videos? I found it hilarious. So if you were interested to see his Instagram, it's Kurt's World 90, hold on, I'm going to Instagram right now. Kurt's World 96. They post on the story every single day. It's hilarious. 7 hours ago they posted from when I'm recording this. makes me laugh so hard. So, if you're looking for a fun little movie to watch, go to Hulu and watch Spree. I also saw it for buy or rent on YouTube, so that's a way you want to watch it. Go ahead. I was just telling my coworkers about that movie. I'm like, I should talk about it in the podcast, just on how funny I think it is that they're active on social media. Anyways, the movie came out like 2 years ago, so that's why it's so funny. I'm like, oh my god. Anyways, I recently also watched Steel Magnolias because I saw a TikTok on it. I mean, I think I have an addiction. It's very, very bad, but I don't want to admit it. I mean, I kind of am right now, but I'm not going to change my ways. So I might talk about TikTok a lot, and that's just something that everyone has to deal with. I saw a clip, probably one of the saddest clips and scariest clips on TikTok, so it kind of spoiled the movie for me. But Steel Magnolias was released in 1989, and the main characters are all women, which is amazing. Dolly Parton being one of them, Julia Roberts, and a bunch of others. This movie, what I appreciate about it is that it's a strong female leads, friendship, going through hard times together. It just makes me cry. Like, oh my god. Some of the scenes are set in a beauty salon and they're all just gossiping, which is just a great thing. I just love it. And the main thing I love about the movie is that it jumps through time quite fast. So it probably goes through a span of maybe 5 years, maybe less than that. But it kind of just talks about their life, and that is Padfoot barking, if you heard that. He does not care that I am podcasting. Molly is barking now too. It was just a really cool movie that I was not expecting. There was a scene in the beauty salon where Julia Roberts' character, this is spoilers, goes into diabetic shock, I believe. And we, as the viewers, did not know that before. And I was terrified. I'm like, what is going on? I literally dreamt about it that night I watched it. I had a nightmare similar to that. Like, I don't know if my brain was just rewatching the movie or something. But yeah. So I also remember a couple years ago seeing a Netflix original called Sweet Magnolias. I don't know if that's the same thing, but as I was trying to search up the movie, because I did not finish it in one night, I was looking it up and I typed in Sweet Magnolias, and that show came up. I'm like, whoa, there's a show of the same title? No, it's Steel Magnolias. I don't know why my brain thought that, but I wonder if it is the same premise. We'll never know. Anyways, the main topic of this episode is Elvis, the movie. When I first heard about this movie coming out, I was not like, oh my god, I need to see it. But then after hearing on TikTok a bunch, Doja Cat's version, or like she sampled Hound Dog by, what's her name? Oh my gosh, I'm a bad podcaster, hold on. Doja Cat's song Vegas that samples Mama Thornton's recording of Hound Dog was all over TikTok, and it is so good. And I was singing it at work, and my coworkers were like, I want to see it. I'm like, oh my god, I was thinking about going to see it too. And so we went today and saw this movie, like almost 3 hours long. I did not get bored once. I did have to leave to go to the bathroom because I had a Minions cup full of Pepsi Zero. I missed probably like 5 minutes of it, but it was near like the almost end, so it was like when he was in Vegas and stuff. Anyways, a 3 hour long movie that I did not get bored of, which is very impressive for me, I believe. So I have some background knowledge of Elvis, as most people do, because he's literally like the most successful solo artist ever. Couple times at work while it wasn't busy, I'd watch TikTok, and I don't know who it was, she made a whole like series on Elvis's life, and I learned a lot from TikTok. Please, if you judge me for that, whatever, I learn a lot. Anyways, I learned about his relationship with his mother and how not very normal it was because he did lose his twin brother at birth. The fact that he married Priscilla when she was a teenager, that's a bit weird. I learned about how about his last few months of life were not great and how he died. But the movie does not really focus on that. It actually, in my opinion, it was one of the best biopics I've seen. I've only seen like Bohemian Rhapsody and the Elton John movie. This one was interesting because of Elvis's fame, and it wasn't told from a third person point of view. It was mostly told, I guess, from his manager's point of view. He was a narrator. Colonel Parker, played by Tom Hanks, which makes it even more iconic. The movie opened up with, this is also spoilers, probably, Tom Hanks's character, old, and it like shook me. I'm like, oh my god, I cannot. This is crazy. Kind of narrating the beginning of the story and how he discovered Elvis. People mentioned on TikTok, I'm sorry. People mentioned how the beginning of the movie was very flashy and like made them dizzy. I can see how they felt like that. But if you didn't really focus on it, I kind of forgot about it. It was a lot of like editing, flashy like lights and stuff. That's Elvis's thing. Like sequins, sparkles, flashes, whatever. So if that's a concern for you, I wouldn't worry about it, but that's just me. So it basically starts off with Colonel Parker discovering Elvis, and we get a great flashback to Elvis being a kid and how influenced and inspired he was by gospel music with his father. I don't know for how long, the movie didn't really say, but his dad was in jail and his mother didn't have a lot of money, and he grew up around a lot of African American people, and the scene shows them sneaking into this it's like a church, I think. The music that they were singing was like heavenly. It was so beautiful, and that's what they depicted as Elvis being very inspired, and that's the kind of music that he enjoyed singing. I think the movie did a great job, from at least my perspective, at saying Elvis was heavily inspired by these people, by black music during the 50s, and that's how he got his start, because the music he performed at these little traveling shows was heavily inspired by black music at the time. And I was not around during Elvis's life, so I don't have the best perspective. It's just from what I've gathered of him being a pop culture icon, things I've heard from family. I don't have a great perspective on him, but his style and his music, I believe, definitely changed music forever, and I think many people can agree with that. Time goes on, Elvis gets famous, gets noticed by a lot of people. He is being managed by Colonel Parker. We know that. He then buys Graceland in Memphis, Tennessee. And when we were watching it, I told my friend Autumn, I'm like, I've been there. So I want to talk about my experience a little bit. Summer before my senior year, which was 2019, it was like early June, we, as a choir from my high school, and I think band, we went to Memphis, New Orleans, and Missouri. Our first stop was Memphis, Tennessee, on my birthday. I literally woke up on a coach bus on my 17th birthday, but it was really fun. We went and saw where Martin Luther King Jr. was killed, and then we went to Graceland. We performed there. We got to tour his house, and I'm going to put up some pictures. Literally, his house is so beautiful. I remember being there and not fully understanding the impact that Elvis had on people, which kind of sucks, but so yeah, this is me in the mirror with our tour group wearing blue shirts. it was so hot. That's the outside of the house. I think in the movie it was a green screen. I don't know. I have no idea. The interior, they did a really good job of making this set look very realistic. The stained glass windows are just absolutely beautiful. Yeah, so we toured it. Yeah, so this is my ticket for my tour. They gave us like little iPads and headphones, and it would like talk about it if we pressed play, but my iPad was broken, which really sucks. So yeah, a couple more pictures, like the green carpet. This is Elvis's grave, and people think that Elvis is not dead and that he's like living upstairs in the Graceland house because we weren't allowed up there. Maybe he's up there. I don't think so. Anyways, the basement of that house was so cool. I don't think I have any pictures of it. Sorry. Google it. So they moved to Graceland. His parents have a house. But then they're like, Elvis, you're being really bad. Like, you're too provocative. You're not a family musician. And he keeps breaking the rules. And they're like, you are going to war. You are going to be in the military. You're going to basic training. You have to go to Germany for 2 years. And that he ends up going. And his mother is worried sick. And she unfortunately passes away in Graceland. I don't know if that's true, but in the movie she did. So maybe it's haunted. Anyway, R.I.P. While he is in Germany in the 50s, he meets Priscilla. At this point, I'm pretty sure Elvis is like in his mid-20s. Priscilla, I think, was like 14. She was a daughter of a general or something on the American Army. This is just not good. Like, Priscilla, you're so young. And like, the movie didn't bring it up, but like, Elvis was in her room. It was just weird. I got weird vibes. I did not appreciate that, especially how the relationship ends up. Anyways, so that happens. They get married. They have a baby named Lisa Marie. We all know that. He gets so much more famous. He gets put into movies. The movie doesn't talk about this. Maybe they mention it, like a name, but he has affairs with his co-stars while Priscilla's back home in Graceland. That sucks. She was so young, and to be married to that was just, I could not imagine. So he does all these movies. He gets super famous and kind of gets burnt out. And Colonel Parker just really wants more money. But Elvis is like, I don't feel like I'm myself anymore. We get to see, I think it was really cool how they brought this up, and really important how they brought this up. The assassination of MLK really affected Elvis because it was in Tennessee, and that's where he grew up. And I'm glad that they brought that up. And they also brought up how Robert Kennedy was killed. And that really, the movie made it seem like it really scared Elvis. Because if you're a public figure, you're out there, and assassination attempts can happen at any time. So that's a really major aspect and driving point for Elvis and how he ended up, which is just very sad. But after the movies and all that, he gets really burnt out, and he seeks other management. This is when the movie kind of gets to a lower point and not as exciting, but movies need to have that to drive the plot. I think it's some sort of like a Hollywood sign, but I don't think it was a Hollywood sign. They're talking about how like James Dean filmed movies and all this. Anyways, a man in 70s get up, long sideburns, flared pants, really big sunglasses, is standing with Elvis and some other guys too. I'm like, that is literally Dacre Montgomery. That is him. And I couldn't at first make it out because he's wearing glasses. And if you don't know who that is Billy from Stranger Things. It was him. And his character is so good. He really pushes Elvis and kind of tricks Colonel Parker and makes Elvis happy and doing what he wants, and all the music he performs is so good during this time. Like, it's really from the heart, and he has a conversation with Priscilla saying, like, this music makes me happy. Back home in Tennessee, the gospel, soul, R&B music. And he goes behind Colonel Parker's back and does what he wants. Oops, my phone. I'm sorry. I'm saying sorry to my phone. Anyway. So yes, I was very surprised Edgar Montgomery made an appearance, and I'm glad he was in it because he's a great actor. I put down my notes how I predicted Colonel Parker was a sleaze. The entire movie, I'm like, I think it was meant to be, like, shown that he was a sleaze. Because the beginning, he's like, I didn't kill Elvis. Even though he kind of did. Because he, like, pushed him to a point of a really bad place. I don't know why I would put that after Edgar Montgomery, but I did. I'm going to skip that. Las Vegas residency. Again, this is how Colonel Parker was being a sleaze and kind of tricking Elvis in a way. Don't leave the country. You can perform in the United States because you won't get killed. You'll be protected. Like, that is awful. If Elvis wanted to travel, I have no idea. Anyway, so Elvis ended up staying in the United States, performed 4 years straight, beautiful, beautiful music in Las Vegas with all the glittery, rhinestoned jumpsuits. So good. And the music he'd sing, brought tears to my eyes. I am not even kidding. And after that, I feel like I would get so bored of doing the same thing every single year. I put how beautiful the choir and band were. He performed with, like, at least in the movie, he performed with a choir, a full-on band, like orchestra. I can't even express to you how beautiful it was. So if you want to take my word for it or go see the movie, I recommend it. But after 4 years, you would get so burnt out and tired, and he did. Started doing drugs, drinking, and he slowly losing his wife, Priscilla. And there was a moment when he was dropping off Lisa Marie at this, like, airport type thing. Priscilla gets in the car without, like, Lisa Marie goes with, like, some other adults, whatever. She's, like, probably, like, 4 years old. Priscilla's like, I have an arrangement for you after this show tonight to get on a plane, go to San Diego, and get some help. Your ex-wife, the mother of your child, is begging you to get help. And she goes, do it for Lisa Marie. I bawled my eyes out. That's an exaggeration. I don't like crying in public, but I felt so sad when I heard her say that. Because for me, that would be the driving force. That would be like, I need to do this for my loved ones. Unfortunately, I don't think he went. He fired Colonel Parker, and he was going to lose a bunch of money. I kind of zoned out for the end because it was a long movie. So I didn't get bored. I just zoned out. I probably was thinking about the podcast and what I was going to talk about. As we all know, Elvis does pass away. If you care to know how, watch a video, watch a TikTok, watch a YouTube video. The movie does not talk about it. But Colonel Parker, in the end, and throughout the whole movie, actually, while he was narrating, kept saying, you, as if he was speaking to the audience. That really struck me. He said, you are the reason. Wait, I have it in my notes app. Let me go see. I wrote it down in the movie theater. Hold on. His love for you is what killed him. Or something along those lines. Almost as if Colonel Parker was not necessarily blaming his fans, but Elvis loved the attention, loved the fans. And that's what apparently killed him. Which I can see, because if you go from living in poverty, losing a brother whom you feel like is always with you, but not actually there, losing your mother, you are like the most famous person ever. You are going to appreciate, at some degree, your fans. And maybe he felt pressured to maintain his performances. I have no idea. But I found that very interesting, and it was really cool. When I like put two and two together, I'm like, oh, he's talking about the audience. But yeah. So some final thoughts. I would like to talk about Austin Butler. He, in fact, played Elvis in this movie. I knew Austin Butler growing up as a really cringy kid in iCarly. I believe when he was in Hannah Montana for a couple episodes in the high school scenes. And he was in Zoe 101. And for him, he did an amazing job. There were points throughout the movie where I couldn't tell exactly if they were clips from Elvis's live performance, like visual wise, not the voice. I don't know. I think they might have just used Elvis's recordings, but like recordings of him performing, because Austin Butler did such a great job. Like hold on. My fan turned off and I got very embarrassed because I don't know if my grandparents could hear me. They probably can hear me now. My fan just turned off by itself. Scary. Anyways, he just did a great job. So go see it for yourself. I also feel like the woman who played Priscilla did a great job. She wasn't really a main character, but I've seen some things on TikTok that Lana Del Rey could have played her. That would have been really cool, because Lana Del Rey does look very similar to the real life Priscilla. But obviously, I don't know if Lana Del Rey can act. She might be able to. So that is all I have to talk about Elvis. Such a good movie. I recommend going to see it. If you enjoyed me talking about movies, leave a comment below. DM me at Instagram at My Gemini Mind Podcast if you have any requests for what I should talk about. My grandpa's laughing outside in the hallway. I can hear him. Anyways, short and sweet podcast. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.